comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots. Welcome, sinners. This is Sports Idiot Nation.
Welcome in, sinners. Today is October 17th. We are on our Michael Jordan episode, so this will be the greatest of all time, episode number 23. It is I, Adam Marino, joined by Mr. T.I., Mr. 30,000, and from North Carolina, number 23. No, it is just Miles behind.
Chicago Bulls.
It is just
Same
Miles.
jersey, wrong
Oh,
bank
who cares?
Edgar
An idiot.
from North Carolina.
The third guy on the podcast.
Fair.
Fair. Okay. So if Miles, if you're feeling like a failure in this opening, do not fret, because earlier this week, did you guys know it was international? So not just an international man of mystery. It is an international day of horrendous and epic failure, which I don't know how that happens on two main days that don't make sense to me. October 13th, 1962, the greatest football player ever to put on cleats in the history of the universe internationally is Jerry Rice. His birthday is October 13th. T.I., what else is the significance of October 13th?
October 13th is also my anniversary. It's the day that I got married. So
Epic failure for staying single.
yeah.
Congratulations
to
to
my
epic
wife.
failure for your wife. Yeah, she made that decision. And also, you're failing her by being on this podcast right now instead of being with her. So great call there.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's October 17th. So
Right. The 13th,
we've already celebrated. We've already celebrated,
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's true.
I mean, it's, we
passed.
don't have the opportunity to celebrate the full week anymore,
Yeah, it's just for about 3 minutes you celebrate.
My kid's fall break takes up, we have to find, go-karts and things for him to do, so.
Mario Kart?
Well, I mean, Mario Kart, of course, but we got to do things out in the real world as well when you have a human. You got to make sure they breathe air and see plants and animal life, instead of just being indoors. So,
Gotta have it. So we're talking failures, and it's like, man, there's so many things that make us laugh, of things that people either hyped up to be like this thing. Like the very, 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 very first thought that I think of is when the Lakers made this last-ditch effort to win a couple more championships after they had already won, and they bring over a 52-year-old Karl Malone, a 47-year-old Gary Payton, and then the Houston Rockets bring over not that old of a Scottie Pippen, but a 49-year-old Charles Barkley. The starting lineup for an NBA team is Clyde Drexler, Akeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, and Matt Maloney is the point guard, whoever that is. And they don't win a championship. Like, it's just like...
It's Matt Maloney's fault.
Right. Matt Maloney. Number 12 on your program, number 1 in your hot.
That Lakers team, though, they got smoked by the Pistons. Pistons just ran them out of the water,
Yeah, and Kobe famously said that it was all his fault because they extended their offense out a few feet, and it totally changed the dynamic. I remember him saying that
Mitch
to run the
Richmond
triangle.
too, right?
What's that?
No. They had Glenn Rice, right? They had somebody else. They had a shooter. They had a shooter as well.
Yep. Yeah, that team was stacked as far as like just guys they had on the team. That's nuts. But they
can't buy a team. Can't buy a team. Redskins used to do that a lot.
Okay. You can buy a team, just can't buy a championship.
Yeah.
The Yankees do it every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they don't even make the playoffs, which, okay, baseball, I remember names like, and you'll know who I'm talking about as I get into all these names, Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez, Randy Johnson, a young Alex Rodriguez, one guy you may have heard of, Ken Griffey Jr. And this team was just beyond stacked at every level. They won, Miles, you can quote me, is it 107 games?
I believe it was 116.
Or
I
okay.
believe they were 116-46 in
Oh my
01.
gosh, that's like the Chicago White Sox of winning.
In reverse. Yeah.
And
Chicago's
so
supposed to do it.
it's like
Chicago
that
does it the
team.
opposite. They do it in backwards.
The regular season, that's how you're
Yeah.
supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like, oh my
Foreshadowing.
gosh. But is that a failure then? Because did they break the record for AL wins?
Oh God, yes. In
So
the
is that a
modern
failure?
era. Yeah, a massive failure.
I mean,
oh my
you
God,
didn't win
yeah.
the World Series.
I
But
mean,
they
it's
won.
as big a failure as the city is. They didn't even. Seattle has still not made the World Series ever. That's unbelievable.
It
And
is
you have
unbelievable. That's fair.
arguably the greatest regular season team of all time. That team was absolutely sick.
Okay,
And you can't even make the World Series? Come on.
then
That's a
then let me
huge
ask you
failure.
this. All right, then let me ask you this, because this team that I'm talking about did win multiple championships. They have multiple Hall of Famers on the roster, and they have the best record in NBA history. And you know exactly now what I'm talking about. Was that a
Yeah.
failure then?
Yeah, but it's less of a burden because you won 3 championships around that year. You don't win it. So I think you don't just look at it as like the one season. Yes, of course. But the fact that they had 3 out of 4 titles, it takes it away. And also, you made the finals and you are taking on the second best player of all time behind this guy right here. And it, you had I think the bigger failure is not necessarily winning 73 games and not winning a championship. The bigger failure is being up 3-1 and blowing it, in my mind. But the fact that you ease the burden by winning championships around it, it's not like, oh, we just wasted all this talent.
And you got to
3
Game
out of
7
4
NBA
and then
Finals.
4 overall. Yeah.
That's fair.
So I think that eases the blow. Yes, it's a failure, but not as large as Seattle's for never even making a World Series or winning a pennant.
Just order a large Farva. All right, so then let's think through what are some other of those failures where there was so much success. I'll give you one, a no-brainer is going to be the Patriots, right? So they literally made the Miami Dolphins nervous. Remember growing up, there's the clips of when the last team is not undefeated anymore. They show the Miami Dolphins get together, the 7 of them that are alive, and they like pop champagne and they cheers.
I got one for you after this.
And they just, they always celebrate, right? And that year the Patriots were doing their thing, man. Those Dolphins were getting pretty sweaty, pretty nervous, and then they lose the Super Bowl. Like, what? That was like a lot of bettors lost money, a lot of, like that's probably the most epic one I can think of. What are some others then? Miles, you got one you said?
Oh, of course. Look, my guys right behind me, 2015, my 76 Indiana Hoosiers were getting nervous, and then Kentucky out against Wisconsin. They had a chance to go 40-0 and choked it against.
That's a big one.
Seriously, Wisconsin, and then
It's
famously Wisconsin. And then one of the players post-game press conference famously goes out and drops the N-word about one of the whiskey players, like Krasinski or whatever the big center was for Wisconsin that year.
Frank
and then
Kaminsky.
Calipari's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, F that enter right on, like right in the post crowd. And Calipari's, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
After
that
you
is
just
epic.
blow your season, it's like great sportsmanship guy.
That's pretty epic. T.I., what do you got?
Oh man, just epic fails. I mean, just look at my shirt. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any more epic failure than 1 yard away from tying the Super Bowl. I mean, like I said, if we're saying that the Warriors coming up empty in that magical season is a failure, then of course coming up 1 yard short in the Super Bowl is a failure as well. I mean, of course, so you want to take the moral victory, but so yeah, that obviously, I've had the failure, the Auburn national championship failure against Jameis Winston and Florida State. So, those have been some, recent ones that I have witnessed myself that impacted me and my mental health. But yeah, just on the outside looking in, of course, one that comes to mind is in a comical way is when LeBron James took his talents down to South Beach, and they then went up against the Mavericks and got smoked. JJ Barea shut down the whole team.
Yeah, Puerto Rico.
Shut down the whole team.
Entire island of Puerto Rico.
I mean, I'd say that was a pretty epic failure because everybody was penciled that in as a 4-0 sweep.
Not one,
you know?
not two, not three, not four, not
so,
five.
I mean, and granted, they did get a couple, I think, but still, like that first one where they got shut down by JJ Barea was pretty hilarious. You know, I see it all the time.
Allen.
Yeah, people are like, man, you just need to chill. Y'all got shut down by JJ Barea. Like, you can't talk when that happens to you.
Well, JJ Barea also did it to Team USA in the
he's a good
Olympics.
Player. He's a good player, but you know,
he did it to the Lakers.
But LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh, you know, and they didn't have an answer for the powerhouse of JJ Barea.
That guy swept the Lakers the following year, I think.
I mean, he's good. But, I mean, obviously they had Dirk. They had some weapons, you know. But still, I always laughed about that because JJ Barea shut those dudes down.
Yeah, you know you fail when you get your ass beat by JJ Barea. Team USA,
that's a good
Lakers.
It's a big failure.
Which we'll dub October 13th JJ Barea Day, I think.
Yeah. So Team USA, they've had some. I mean, so you think of before 92, even you had Michael Jordan, these college guys just ripping everybody up. Okay, then 92, for the first time ever, they let the pros in. Okay, well, now you think it's lights out for life. Well, it ain't. It ain't lights out for life, because in 96, you still had you add a lot of those guys, and then you add Shaq. You know, take away Christian Laettner, add Shaq.
Well, and here's the thing. Had Jordan not given up his roster spot to a one Mitch Richmond in 96, the 96 team would have been way better than the 92 team.
No question.
People forget that. Jordan's like, no, I'll give someone else a chance. And it was Mitch Richmond. Look at the rosters. Take off Richmond, put in Jordan. The 96 team is
because you had Reggie Miller.
Arms and legs.
Yeah.
You had the glove. You had Gary Payton in his prime. You had Charles Barkley. You had Hakeem the Dream. You had David Robinson. Oh, that 96 team was nice.
You had Shaq.
Yeah,
dude.
Right. As we talked
Gary
about.
Payton, Shaq, Mitch Richmond. Just alone, Barkley.
But
nutty.
Then the year 2000, they took it for granted because they're like, oh, even without MJ in 96, we clowned everyone. In 2000, they still won gold, but man, it took a last-second effort to beat Lithuania in Sydney. And everyone's like, whoa, okay, no. It was just a one-time thing. And then Athens 2004, it all comes falling apart and unravels.
That Bill Walton had those tie-dye Grateful Dead jerseys. It was all his fault. It's all Bill Walton's fault.
The Conference of Champions. R.I.P.
It's back, baby.
So that might be top 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
That 2004
and then 2006 at the Worlds in Indianapolis, they didn't win either.
Right. It wasn't the Olympics, so it's like has a lesser feel to it. But you still have no business losing, is the point, right?
Anyone. Yeah. Any American should step out there and wipe the floor with any non-American in basketball. Period.
And it's fair to say that the game is changing and that they're great guys, you know, but from other countries and stuff, Joker and this and that, but still, no, sorry, you're not going to be better than the United States. Like, that's just an epic failure. What about in the Miracle on Ice? It's just looked at differently because we're on the positive end of it.
But,
right.
Let's just talk about the Soviet Union in general. I mean, we're talking about the 1980 hockey team, but then also the country itself, the entire Soviet Union in the early 90s. That is an epic failure. Sorry, folks. Communism fails. The only time I'll bring up politics in this. Communism failed, baby.
Yes. Yeah, that's an epic fail. That's pretty solid out of you. That's good. That's a good pull. But
You're welcome.
That Lake Placid, right?
Duly noted. We're not fans of communists there.
Right.
Yeah, right. Sorry. We're Americans.
Yeah. But yeah, that was such a failure because in today's world, maybe let's do this. This will be fun. Let's come up with a with the alternative to now, from now to now, like from now, if it was now to now. 1980 hockey, Mother Russia, going up against the United States, and what that would look like for something in today's world. Let's come up with. It doesn't even have to be hockey, to be honest, but just in a sporting event. It could be even like tennis. It can be the Williams sisters going up against me and T.I., and then us beating those girls. Like, is that it? Is that
What video game system are we on? Because that's the only way that is happening.
okay? Fair.
Yeah.
I-
Hopefully,
I'm trying
I have to
PlayStation.
give I have to give a shout out to our many fans in India. We just beat your ass this last year in cricket. Epic fail on your end. You had your top 5 team in the
That's right.
world. You should be number 1 every year, India, in cricket, and you let the US of A, I believe the US and A, in cricket. We're the minnows, and we went out there in the World Cup and we beat you. So
Step your game
fail.
up, India. Step your
Come
game
on
up,
now.
India.
We're coming for you.
Shout out to all of our viewers worldwide. We have viewers all over the world.
Many subscribers, many thousands of subscribers. Be sure that you are one of those. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow on all social medias. Wherever you get your social media, you will find Sports Idiot Nation. The most fun way to watch is, of course, on YouTube. We're talking failures because it was just International Failure Day.
What about I was watching this on pay-per-view. I don't know, Adam, I don't know if we've discussed it, but what about the Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield fight, right? It's hyped up,
Failure for his ear.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, right into it. It's like, oh, he just bit his ear off, and the whole thing is like over.
Bit his ear
that
off
was
his
like
body.
That was like an epic
What?
failure on all fronts, because you got all these people pay-per-view paying all this money. Mike Tyson comes out, and just from that point on, people are like, he's completely insane, And so I would say that's a pretty epic failure on all fronts. Evander Holyfield's like, what in the hell just happened? He's looking at his ear like, what?
Yeah, what? The shock of it.
And then Mike Tyson started talking about how he's going to eat Lennox Lewis's kids and stuff. And he went off the deep end a little bit,
Then the face
maybe it was
tattoo.
by design. Maybe it was by design. But anyway, that was a pretty epic failure, because everybody was excited for it. And then it was over. And then everybody was like, what in the hell was that? Didn't have social media then.
I do have to make a correction to our Indian fans. The upset was Pakistan, not India. My fault. I'm getting a bug in my ear. It was Pakistan, so that's right. India, you got us. Pakistan, we got
Pakistan
you.
did not.
Sorry, India. You did beat it. Yep. They're going to come after me.
In the comment section now.
We took care of Pakistan. We're back on your side. That's mea culpa.
So, what other? We were talking even before the show, like, look, epic failure could be epic failure. Like
my epic failure right there. Sorry.
Right. That's pretty good. That's solid. But like, you look at even in pop culture, like comedians who were selling out, like, they're just selling out the Garden in New York, like selling it out, and then having to play in a club of 47 people because you drop off so much. Remember how big like Dane Cook was, and then like his brother took his money, and then like he supposedly plagiarized all these jokes, or which everyone takes from everyone. Like, I don't know, Carlos Mencia like supposedly was stealing jokes, but he had a show on Comedy Central, and like it was just a big thing. And like some of those are just kind of funny. And then you see these guys still try and do shows like in Fort Wayne, where I'm at, we have it's a franchise, so we get really good comedians. It's not like some just homegrown guy has a comedy club, but it's a franchise that gets all these good people. And Carlos Mencia was signed on to come, and they had to like the Facebook comments on social media were so bad, they freaking canceled the show. I have never seen that it was so bad. Like, oh, whose jokes is he stealing now was like the thing for Carlos Mencia. It's bad to the point where like you almost feel bad for him, because I'm not sure, at some level everyone steals from everyone. I don't know if there's just an etiquette to it, or what, but like Carlos Mencia, Dane Cook, what are some other like stand-up comedians that you remember that are just like, yeah, we don't talk about them anymore? Anybody?
I mean, stand-up comedians you don't really talk about. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of perception, really, because these days, back then stand-up specials and everything were a huge deal. Now it's like there's one coming out on Netflix every week, So,
right.
I mean, are comedians really canceled or anything? I don't think so.
Amy Schumer.
Like,
Amy Schumer is someone that you
she's
do not hear of anymore.
her problem. Maybe I'm wrong. I still think her whole thing was she was for a long time was the girlfriend of Anthony Jeselnik, and I think he was writing a lot of her content and a lot of her roast material. And once she got her show and all that, and got a little bigger and started doing her own thing, like her stuff's just not really funny anymore at all.
She did a couple movies even with like the shock Hader.
The shock value wears off, even Lisa Lampanelli, like even that shock value, like all that wears off at some point. So you have to have a bit more substance, and I just don't think she had it.
So
but
pay attention, Nikki Glaser. You're next.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris
she's
D'Elia. Chris D'Elia? The
Chris
one
D'Elia,
who was
D'Elia, that was a little different because he was one guy that like supposedly had some sexual harassment type of stuff. Like in that sense, it's a little bit different because you can be Kevin Spacey, you can be anyone, and if you have that go down, like you're kind of canceled. Like in my opinion, that's a little bit different because
it's not
he's
for
still
sexual
funny.
Content
He truly is.
bad. Yeah.
Like he apologized on his podcast. He's now doing material again, and he talks about it. He apologized for it, and like he's back. Although,
gotcha.
He was also canceled in Fort Wayne. Funny thing, he was going to come to our embassy. The embassy miles here in Fort Wayne, and he was going to come, and they canceled him. So, all that to say, but that's a good point.
Well, Hannibal Buress isn't doing comedy anymore, but I don't think it was anything like that. He did catch a lot of stuff with the Bill Cosby thing initially, and he got a little concerned. I think he took a step back and started doing movies and other things, but he's working on music as well.
That's another one too,
which is strange. But yeah, so I mean, but he wasn't canceled by any means. But I mean, like take Dave Chappelle for instance. Dave Chappelle has been pumping out special after special on Netflix.
Well, he canceled himself. That's a little different.
But I mean, it's all people are still like, oh, nobody talks about Dave Chappelle anymore. It's like Dave Chappelle's still just as big as he's ever been. It's just a matter of perception,
Right.
So I mean, I still think all of Dave Chappelle's stuff is genius. I mean, whether you find it offensive or not, like I always am fine balancing that line between what's offensive, what's not. I mean, everybody's gonna have a different opinion of what offends them. It takes a lot.
Comedy.
It takes a lot to offend me.
Well, yeah,
So
that's the idea of it. It's comedy. Well, and we'd definitely love to hear from you. What are some of your epic fails? We love getting the comments. So make sure you comment in. What are your just pop culture? So that could be sports. It could be music. I mean, you look at like Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, P. Diddy, like people that started up here and now through things that have happened ends up way down here. Or Milli Vanilli from lip syncing. And so comment in, what are some of your epic fails in sports, music, TV, movies, pop culture, whatever? Was there a superhero that you thought had an epic fail? Did Michelangelo have an epic fail compared to Raphael, Donatello, or Leonardo? Who knows? Maybe there's an argument out there. So
they all had an epic fail on the rooftop.
Right.
At first.
Right. Definitely. We had to find a way to get Ninja Turtles in there, as you guys are well aware.
It's the law.
Make sure you check out
the law.
Yeah, it is law. Check out some of our previous episodes, especially the Thursday ones where we just kind of go on a rant on all kinds of stuff. But remember to follow Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media. Check us out on YouTube. And of course, the podcast versions can be found on the usual suspects as Apple Podcast and Spotify. And we will see you guys Monday. Okay, all you sinners, follow Sports Idiot Nation on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Like us on Facebook. And remember, the most fun way to watch us is on YouTube every Monday and Thursday. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be updated when new content drops. Remember, the podcast can also be found on the usual suspects of Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Always remember, don't be an idiot.
Sinner.